Oh, yeah.
Good. Yes, thank you. Right, now I can share screen and everything. Hello, everybody.
Hi, Sean.
Welcome. I know we got a smaller group tonight, and that's not a bad thing. My talk is a little bit shorter than the others have been. I'm just sharing my screen over here and getting it going.
Body sign language.
Yes, there we go. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you all. I know some people are busy with other meetings, but that's fine. It's not a problem. It was a very popular evening this evening. But I'm going to get going in the meantime. So let's move. So tonight we are working on the neck and the shoulders. And those are known as the pedestal for the head, because as you know, our head is balanced on top of our shoulders. So you didn't think that your neck was so important, but it actually tells us lots of stories. Not really expected to see nutritional indicators in the neck and shoulders. However, there are several factors that make this area unique. Mineral deficiencies often result in deterioration in the neck bones. And I see this quite often in my practice where people come in complaining about sore shoulders or stiff necks, or they just generally have a pain in the neck. And it's often because of things like osteoporosis, etc., where the bones have settled or there's been a slip or something along those lines. And because of the deterioration of the neck bones, this in turn affects the muscles in the shoulder and neck, which are then continuously under tension from the head weight, because your head I often describe as a bowling ball, and that can be quite heavy considering that it is balanced on a little peg at the top of our spine. The thyroid gland is also found in the neck, and it's found, if you can see my picture, roughly around about here. And this gland plays a very important role in the amount of energy we enjoy or don't. If your thyroid is not working properly, you are going to have problems. The thyroid gland can swell dramatically if it does not receive sufficient iodine. Iodine enhances the immune activity against viruses and bacteria and regulates cholesterol metabolism. And that's something that we probably need to be looking at. I found during my preparation some quite interesting facts over here. So if we don't have enough iodine in the system, our immune system is going to be dropped. And right now with this virus around, that is very much of a problem. And if you've ever moved your neck in a funny way and you have this like an electric shock running up your neck, I get it every so often, and it's known as Lhermitte's syndrome. My pronunciation is correct on that one. This syndrome can be caused by a deficiency of vitamin B12, and other issues that cause it include multiple sclerosis and various other nerve problems. So it could be that you've got a nerve that's being pinched or irritated in the neck, or something along those lines. Multiple sclerosis is just basically hardening of the arteries over there. B12 absorption is complex and requires sufficient stomach acid, and it requires two binding proteins together with secretion from the stomach lining, and that's known as the intrinsic factor. So if your intrinsic factor is not operating correctly, you are not going to be absorbing B12 correctly. The intrinsic factor won't function correctly without stomach acid, and stomach acid depletes with age. So it's almost a bit of a catch-22 situation. B12 is essential for normal maturation of red blood cells. And if there are insufficient red blood cells, you develop anemia. And this seems to be becoming a much more common problem these days. There's a lot more people seeing and meeting who have a problem with anemia. If you've had anesthetic with nitrous oxide, that can antagonize the vitamin B12 in your body. And this deficiency may result in Lhermitte's sign. It can also result in irreversible deterioration of the nervous system and ultimately death. So that is how important your B12 is in the body. Symptoms of depleted B12 can include fatigue, and how many people do we know complaining about, oh, I've got no energy? Numbness, and that numbness can be fingertips or feet. Abnormal sensations like burning soles of your feet, burning fingertips, burning hands, or it feels like you've got insects crawling on or under your skin. Can also get so bad that there's difficulty in walking, urinary retention, difficulty in thinking where people are confused, and mild confusion. So I put my keys down and you turn around and you forget where you put them. Little things like that that we sort of take for granted as being old age, but it's not. Maybe it is nutrient related. So maybe you need to have that checked out. Have a blood test done, or speak to a dietitian, or speak to your GP. B12 injections help to treat bursitis. And those with bursitis almost always suffer from indigestion. And this is an indicator for malabsorption of B12. Bursitis is things like painful elbows, and you get little areas at the back of your heel that develop these little, it's almost like a growth at the various insertion points of ligaments, and they can become inflamed and extremely painful. Antacids may contribute to low stomach acid because, by definition, antacid is anti-acid. So people take it because they have indigestion, but it's often the worst thing that they can do, because that now lowers the stomach acid and they end up having poor B12 absorption, which then obviously contributes to a lot of other issues. B12 has declined dramatically in food between 1960 and 1990. I didn't have place on this slide to go into all the stats, but it's quite phenomenal and quite scary. Let me see if I can find it quickly in my book over here, just to fill you in, because my talk does give me a little bit of space over here. Where's this thing? Yeah. There were a couple of guys that did some research, and they observed that the amount of vitamin B12 found in foods has declined dramatically from 1960 to 1990. The amount of B12 in beef liver, for instance, declined from 122 micrograms per 100 grams in 1960 to no detectable B12 in 100 grams of liver in 1990. And eggs are a similar thing. You usually find a lot of B12 in eggs, and that seems to have disappeared quite a bit as well. These are the different foods that you'll find B12 in generally. They include fish, crab, cheese, chicken, eggs, red meat, milk, and almonds. How many of these foods are you eating on a daily basis? How many of these foods are organically grown or processed? If the answer is not much, and if it's no to the organic, you probably are severely depleted in vitamin B12. One theory for this decline is there's a decline in soil cobalt, which is essential for B12 synthesis. So we can see how all of these things work together very carefully. And this is where Neolife has been so good and so careful about making sure that everything stays organic and correct from the farming process right the way through to the finished product that we get in a little bottle where we can swallow it. Widespread use of antibiotics and insecticides is also a factor, as B12 is synthesized by bacteria. Antibiotics, as we know, work very effectively at killing bacteria. Unfortunately, they work very effectively at killing good and bad bacteria. And what happens is the bad bacteria develop a resistance to the antibiotics. And this is being seen a lot more in the medical field these days, where where the doctors are finding that there's a lot of diseases that are now resistant to antibiotics. Pollutants such as sulfur dioxide, mercury salts, nitrous oxide are also B12 antagonists. And now a lot of those things you'll find around industrial areas, so your big cities and those sort of places. Suggestions: a sublingual B12 may be helpful if the intrinsic factor is not functioning correctly. And my opinion, I think our B12 supplement or tablet that we have would work probably as well, if not better, because it's water soluble, but it is also sustained release. So it covers, or it stays in your system for a lot longer than vitamin B would normally. Physicians can give B12 injections in cases of serious deficiency, but how about you? But I'm not too fond of injections. Why have that when you can have a good supply daily from a simple supplement? You need to supplement with a vitamin B complex, because remember, there are 12 vitamin Bs, not just B12 or B2. There's a whole range of them. And if we take the complex, your body will be able to utilize what it needs when it needs it. And we have vitamin B, and I hear that as of today, we have vitamin B back in stock. Thank goodness. And if necessary, support your stomach acid as well. The way to do that is higher grade and above my level. So my suggestion is please speak to your dietitian and or your physician. A heavily pigmented neck, known as Cazel's necklace, and that is around the face, neck, or upper chest areas exposed to, oh, my spelling over there, to light, becomes excessively pigmented or red. So you'll find this sort of area, if you've got an open neck t-shirt, this area becomes very red and quite rough in this area. And you see these people, and sometimes it looks as though they may have just spent a lot of time in the sun, but there are quite probably other reasons, one of them being vitamin B. This sign, or vitamin B3, in fact, this sign is often characteristic of pellagra, which is a B3 or niacin deficiency. In Caucasians, pellagra can look just like a bad sunburn. Darker skins show more excessive pigmentation. So have you ever seen one of our local African people where they've got very good looking skin, but they've got these darker areas? That is one of the signs of pellagra or lack of vitamin B3. And that's some of the signs that you'll see over there. Move my picture out of the way there. So you'll see there's around the neck on this one area, there's almost like scarring over there, marks on the hands that look almost a little bit like eczema, and also around the face. And then the reason for the tongue being stuck out, because there are signs on the tongue as well, which I'll get to in a minute. If the deficiency continues, skin can become dry, scaly, and cracked. And as you can see over here, and it may peel off as well. An early pellagra indication is stomach pain or diarrhea, and the tongue becomes sensitive, has a burning sensation, and can often swell as well.
Which is weird.
These early signs of niacin deficiency, which is B3, may be accompanied by darkening of the pigmentation on the back of the hands, the neck, and the shoulders. And this was something that was picked up amongst prisoners of war back in World War II, because they were being fed, especially the Japanese prisoners of war, they were being fed rice that had been, basically it was white rice that had all the bran and husks cleaned off of it, which is pretty much what we're getting these days. And somebody then discovered that if they could get those bran husks and give it to the prisoners, their signs and symptoms went away. That's what it looks like on the back of the hands. So it might not just be contact dermatitis, it could very well be a B3 deficiency over there. Sore neck and shoulders, and this is indicated by tightness around here or stiffness in the neck and shoulders. And sometimes you feel, oh, I've got to do this to loosen myself up. Yes, it could be tension related, because that's what happens to me when I drive, specifically when we go through to Bloemfontein, but it could also be other problems. Sore neck and shoulders could be from allergy or deficiency of calcium or magnesium, as well as tension, obviously. Now, our food sources of calcium and magnesium include your soy milk, almonds, hemp seeds, kale, cashews, avocados, tofu, and spinach. Again, how many of those things are you having on a daily basis? I know how much I'm not having on a daily basis. Tightness in the neck and shoulders could also be an allergic response symptom. Avoiding foods that cause allergies will eliminate those symptoms. Now, this is a little bit more of a tricky thing to figure out because you have to go through a whole lot of tests to find out what your allergy is. Deficiencies of calcium and magnesium are common causes of neck tension. Consumption of diuretics or high phosphate beverages like sodas or coffee can deplete magnesium. So people who are drinking a lot of soda and a lot of coffee are going to end up with problems. Or those who, for medical reasons, have been put on diuretics are going to end up with a problem, and therefore they need to supplement. Suggestions: use a high-quality chelated calcium magnesium supplement, and we know why and where we get this one from. And there you go. The reason for the chelation, obviously, is that we want much better absorption. If a mineral is not chelated, you're only absorbing between 10 to 20%. If it is chelated, meaning that it is bonded with an amino acid, in fact, ours is bonded with 2 amino acids, you will get an absorption of upwards of 80% plus. If this doesn't work, have you yourself checked for allergens? As I said, the way to do allergy tests is unfortunately quite extensive, can be quite expensive too, because they normally will admit you to hospital from a safety perspective, but they will test you for a whole mess of things, some of them through skin tests, some of them through needles, some of them through painting of things like iodine, etc. And a lot of blood tests as well. There's a lot of ways of checking. Lack of nutrients may contribute to muscle problems, not just the stiffness, but also tremors and that sort of thing. And obviously we have our magnesium now, and my customers that I've sold to in the beginning have all reported very, very good results. One lady asked me after 2 days, I'm feeling so much better. Is it the tablets? I said, yes. She says, can they work that fast? And so she was very pleasantly surprised that they were working that effectively and that fast. And then obviously, if you want to add in, if you're really lacking in minerals, you can always add in the multi-mineral as well, because that has got your magnesium, your calcium, and all the other minerals. If in doubt, or to get a comprehensive diagnosis of the cause of your problem, please consult a suitably qualified medical doctor and or dietitian. Goiter or swelling of the neck, that is the swelling in this area. That's your thyroid gland. The swollen thyroid may have several causes, including a condition called Hashimoto's thyroiditis, multinodular goiter, Graves' disease, or an iodine deficiency. Don't worry about the big fancy terms, that's for your doctor to figure out. But a goiter looks something like that. So there's this swelling around this middle part of the throat. Some of those swellings can be quite more distinctive than others. The thyroid is a small butterfly-shaped gland just below the Adam's apple. And anatomically, that's about where you're going to find it. Swelling may be more noticeable if the head is tilted back while swallowing water. So take a mouthful of water, put your head back, check yourself in the mirror and see what's happening over here in your throat. And that is a very, very simple, inexpensive test that you can do yourself to see, is there a problem that I need to get checked? The most common cause of goiter is iodine deficiency. This has been helped significantly with the addition of iodine to salt. And you'll often find salt is sold that says iodated salt. Normally when they process salt, a lot of the iodine is lost, so they add that iodine back again. The thyroid hormone thyroxine contains 64% iodine. If this trace element, and it really is a trace element, is missing, the gland must overwork. And we all know what happens when we overwork, we get exhausted. Thyroiditis is caused by the body attacking its own thyroid gland. And it's more common in women than men. So it could be related to sex hormones. Thyroiditis is often accompanied by a poorly functioning set of adrenal glands, and this leads to inflammation. And we all know that inflammation is not a good thing. The adrenals produce cortisone, which is an anti-inflammatory hormone. Now, you have excessive inflammation through arthritis or something like that, you go to your doctor and he will prescribe cortisone or inject you with cortisone. That is a synthetic cortisone, whereas our own adrenal glands can produce their own, they in fact produce cortisol, which then in turn becomes cortisone. When overworked, a gland or muscle often increases in size, and this is known as hypertrophy. Some foods, such as cabbage, kale, turnips, and soy, increase the risk of goiter by interfering with thyroid function. So again, that could be one of your allergens. Proper thyroid function is essential for normal cholesterol metabolism. So all these people battling with cholesterol problems or diagnosed with cholesterol problems, maybe it could also be thyroid related. Good idea to get it checked out. Faulty thyroid gland may lead to excess cholesterol, which in turn leads to a greater heart disease risk. The thyroid function should be checked prior to using cholesterol-lowering drugs, such as statins. Without correct thyroid function, the immune system may not provide the body sufficient energy to effectively deal with viral infections. And you can either have an overactive thyroid or an underactive thyroid. That needs to be checked and tested by your doctor. Overactive thyroid, called hyperthyroidism, is caused by an excessive iodine and is often associated with big bulging eyes. Suggestions: excess iodine intake should be avoided for fear of hyperthyroidism. If you're having processed foods, be careful and read labels. And basically, you're going to have to work out which foods you are using that have excess iodine. Things like fish, shellfish, etc. We need to avoid iodine antagonists, such as fluoride. We went through this a week or two ago. Check out your fluoride toothpaste. Make sure that you're using a toothpaste that doesn't have fluoride. Attempt to eat foods with a natural source of iodine, such as kelp and seafoods. And that's where sushi comes in as being very healthy. Unless you are reactive to iodine or allergic to seafoods, in which case, stay away. Now, be aware that our full motion is derived from seafood, but the iodine protein has been removed, which makes it perfectly safe for people who do have allergies to iodine or seafoods. Here's your iodine-rich foods, and we won't go through that just yet. Just gives you a rough idea. Healthy thyroid function, meaning an adequate iodine intake, may be particularly important if you're fighting a viral infection or battling with elevated cholesterol. Right now, we know what the infamous virus is that's infecting everybody, but also cholesterol is a very common problem these days. Multimineral is our best source of supplemental iodine. And that is me done for tonight. I told you it was a fairly short one. So that's it. Anybody got any questions?
Sean, may I just say that I've done such a lot of research on thyroid so long ago, I cannot even remember all the reasons, but I know that 3NN, what it's doing with the glands, is also very helpful together with the multimineral with the iodine. Those
Correct.
are the two main things that I've suggested to people, the
Yes.
thyroid.
Correct. Because
Plus 3NN.
yeah, if your adrenal glands have collapsed, the doctors will tell you, sorry, that's you tapped, it can't be regenerated. But Jim McAfee has a very interesting story about his sister who had that problem. She was diagnosed with adrenal exhaustion, and they said her adrenals had shriveled up, started taking the 3NN, and her adrenals kicked back into gear again. So because the 3NN works on the hormone system, it boosts the adrenals, which in turn assists the thyroid to get back into equilibrium, and therefore takes care of a lot of those problems over there. So
We've
yes,
got amazing
3NN is
products
vital.
that help.
This is it,
Yeah,
and they've
yeah.
all been brilliantly worked out. Yes.
Yeah, can I just quickly say something else with the neck, the pain in the neck and shoulders, whatever? My youngest daughter suffers terribly from, I don't know how you say it in English, knoppen in his shoulders, like knots,
Yes.
muscle knots. And her husband actually rubs it out. It's so hard. I felt it. I can't. And she's been to physios and so many things. She's so OT, and she also gets these pain in her arms and everywhere from overusing. But this is tension, terrible stress with the business and the children, and she never stops. And she is taking, why I mentioned that she is taking calcium, magnesium, and all the wonderful things. The whole family is on quite a lot of the supplements. So sometimes it's a little bit more than the supplement, and then you need help. Shame, I feel so sorry for her.
Has she used the magnesium, and what results has she had from the magnesium?
Use the magnesium, but she is has been using the CalMag, of course, and the vitamin B, and you name it.
Okay.
And she's added the magnesium now. I once checked to her, but recently her biggest problem was, and she was to many specialists about this, the arms. And it was from overusing, and with the children, over the apparatus and so on. She's an OT. I don't know if I've said that.
Yeah.
And terrible, terrible pain. So much pain that she cries. Burning, burning, burning pain. And okay, I don't want to digress now from what we said tonight. But because she's got the problem with the arms, it's as if the problem in the shoulders, but you call it the shoulders, a little bit on the background. But now I thought I'll just say this, that sometimes the stress or the tension, the tension is so bad.
Yes.
That you just need that little bit of physio and what have you. And she's even used muscle relaxants in the past. She hasn't used it for a long time. She doesn't like it.
Has she had her neck checked that there's no nerve being pinched?
She's done so many things. She's been to chiropractor, to physios, and other specialists when the problem with the arm started.
Let her have an X-ray, anyway, because it could be because at the level of about C4 to C6, there could be a nerve that's getting pinched over there as well.
Yeah, I will check with her, but because she's been under so much treatment that one I cannot even remember, probably, but I'm glad that you mentioned it. I will definitely check with her. No, sorry, I don't want to digress too much, but I just wanted to say
that's brilliant.
attention a little bit more than
Yeah.
the allergies and things.
Yeah. And by going through all of this is signs that are common, but they're also common to a lot of other issues. So and this is what happens when you go to your doctor, unfortunately. He's got to test and check and see what the problem isn't before they can tell you what the problem is. So a lot of these symptoms can cover a lot of other issues. They might not just be this or that or something else. So yeah, it's always good to get checked. Right, we have about 5 minutes left. Any more
Okay,
questions?
if I can just mention something, our domestic helper, she had a swollen thyroid, and you won't believe it was cancer. It's about now, time is flying, about 3, 4, maybe 5 years that they did take it out, but she is now on oral chemo.
Yes.
But she's amazing. She's working. She's not complaining. Really, really fantastic.
And it is one of the more common cancers as well.
And Sean, it can go to Graves' disease as well when the eyes start bulging.
Correct. Yeah, Graves is quite a nasty thing.
Autoimmune related.
Correct.
When it's so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's correct.
I have somebody, my chemo had it, and she started the carotenoids and all the rest. She's better.
Okay. Good. Excellent.
Sean?
Yes.
Can I ask you something?
Go for it. We've got 4 minutes.
You said, did I catch this properly, that your people with thyroid problems, if you take TreeNN, it helps?
It does, yes.
TreeNN?
Yes, it does. So the TreeNN.
Okay, all right, I'll tell her. I've got a friend who's battling with thyroid.
I would do TreeNN and the multi-mineral.
Yeah.
I think
For
we've
the
lost it.
iodine.
Yeah. I think we lost you.
I've got a thyroid problem, but I use the Formula 4.
Okay.
And I tried it. I tried the Formula 4 Plus, but I found that I started to feel extremely tired. So obviously it's the iron in the Formula 4 that picked me up, because as soon as my Formula 4 Plus was finished, I went back to Formula 4 again, and I feel much better.
Brilliant.
Amazing that, and there's so little iron in it. I'm amazed. I saw it with myself. I was quite amazed.
The 4 to help with the thyroid. TreeNN and Formula 4.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if necessary, you can always add extra TreeNN, but use the Formula 4 rather than the Plus.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Another thing quickly, I know we all that we were saying that you're right. My daughter wants to know about, she asked me the other day about fluoride for the baby. She's 15 months. No, fluoride's not good.
Yes.
But we all something that somewhere for her bones and her teeth and whatever. What's the solution?
She can always suck the CalMag.
No.
She can always chew the CalMag or suck.
Even dissolved.
Yeah, that's fine. But if she's on
the CalMag, how many would you give her? One a day?
Only one. Yeah, I would just do one. Maybe just do one.
At 15 months, you can take one or half. One is enough. One is okay, not too much.
No, we'll start on half. Is she on the Vita Squares?
No, she's taking Liquivite. She just started Liquivite.
Okay, that's
She's
fine.
15 months old. So she
right.
can't eat anything else. She's started Liquivite. Yeah.
Okay. Then she's getting calcium over.
No fluoride. So the fluoride, toothpaste, and all that, no good.
I wouldn't do that. The thing is, there's just too much of it.
Not even for small one. Okay, too much in there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So get the fluoride and just rather like for the teeth, like you said, for the calcium.
That's
and
good.
the teeth and the bones. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll tell you. Thank
We've
you.
got 1 minute
Okay.
Right, everybody. I think that's us for tonight.
Thank you very much.
It is my
Thank you,
pleasure.
Sean. It was great.